Happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome back to The Last Symptom. I'm Brian Barnett, the creator and host of The Last Symptom. I've got here what I think is going to be, it's going to turn out to be one of the more important episodes of this podcast. And it's kind of going to bounce around a little bit because as I was working on something that I call mapping. And it's simply mapping causes and effects, and to help me understand better the real subtle nuances of what goes on psychologically with people. And so we're going to go through this. The topics that this is going to revolve around are considerations about what is true or not, where value originates, that is to say where it's at, and motive, the origin of motive. And it's just going to be a really fascinating discussion. We have to do the musical introduction first and the disclaimer, so don't go nowhere. I'll be right here when that ends. I'm Brian Barnett. I'm just a regular guy. I'm not a doctor. I have no legal license in any field of psychology. But I did live a large part of my life with borderline personality disorder unknowingly, and I really did rid myself of the disorder completely and permanently. Through that, I've become an expert on issues involving emotional health. I accept no responsibility whatsoever for your feelings, thoughts, behaviors, decisions, and actions, including your decision to watch or listen to this show at all. But I do hope you might benefit yourself from the insights I share. I hope that you'll forgive me for squinting into the camera here for a little while. I have quite a strong nagging headache right now, and I've taken something to ease it, but it just ain't had time to kick in yet. So I think that as we're going along doing this, it'll start to kick in, and I'll start to feel better as the show progresses. A couple of quick announcements. TheLastSymptom.com is my website full of free and paid resources, so be sure to check that out. Our online community is over on the Locals platform. You can join by going to thelastsymptom.locals, LOCALS.com in your web browser, or you can just download the real nifty Locals.com app from the App Store and search for The Last Symptom by Brian Barnett within. There's the 2-week intensive pre-recorded course, The Last Symptom Fundamentals course. You can take a gander at that by going over to thelastsymptom.com and going into the paid resources tab. And finally, very last announcement. I have my hands completely full right now writing the Last Symptom book. I know a lot of you have been patiently waiting for that for years, and I would like you to know that I am heavy into that. I'm hoping to have that completed and ready for purchase by, I'm aiming for the end of October. So I'm recording this at the early parts of September. I'd like to have it done by the end of October, early November. And like I said, it's getting done. I'm making a real push on it this time. I think the time is right. And I have been really including everything in this book, everything I've ever hoped to say on the subject of authentic recovery and my process. I'm going to be sharing details that I haven't shared in any other format before. It's going to be more thorough, I think, than anything else I've done before. So I just mentioned that to get you excited, but also to explain why there might be periods of time where there's not an episode of the podcast, or where it seems like I'm not as active in other ways, it's because it takes so much concentration to sit down and get this book written right. But anyway, that's the Last Symptom book. I don't know if that's going to be its full title or not at this point, but I will say that I've been working very hard on it, and I've made some real progress on it, and I'm very enthused about it, and I'm not going to be happy until it's finished. So that's what I'm concentrating a lot of my time and attention on. But I wanted to get this episode of the show out to announce that, and also give you all something good to think about if you have to go a couple more weeks or so without a new show, a new episode of this podcast. All right, let's get into this discussion about what is true or not, where value originates, that is to say where it is, and motive, the origin of motive. There's a lot of really, really valuable insights and morsels in this conversation today. We'll see if we can piece them together and make them coherent and cohesive. What do you think I mean by what is true or not? What is true or not? Let's start with motive, the origin of motive. Do you know where motive originates from? Let me give you some examples. Mowing the grass. What motivates you to get up and mow the grass? How about learning a language? How about paying for higher education? Getting married? Or getting a girlfriend or a boyfriend? Where does motive for these things originate? How about going to a music concert? Going out to eat? Taking a shower? Getting a job? Building a shed? Buying a goat or chickens? How about just getting up off the couch? Have you ever stopped to consider, where does motive originate? I'm going to tell you the origin of motive. Motive originates from a pursuit for value. Think about that. All motive originates from a pursuit of value. Whatever reason you get up off the couch, there is something of value that has called you away from the couch. Some perceived value that has called you away from the couch. Maybe it's a turkey sandwich, and maybe it's that turkey sandwich ending up in your belly. Whatever the case, you would not have gotten up off the couch if you did not see value in doing so. Same thing with mowing the grass. You would not go out and mow grass unless you perceived value in the act of doing so. Learning a language. You wouldn't do it if you didn't perceive there being any value in doing it. So make a note of that. What is the origin of everything I'm motivated to do? It's the pursuit for value. I perceive value in something, which is creating in me a desire to act. Let's go back to what is true or not. What is true or not? What happens when a person determines what is true or not with their feelings? Well, it creates a should and shouldn't universe. We've talked about this a little bit in the past. Think about that. When I'm determining realities, or when I'm determining what is true or not, based on my feelings, this gives birth to an imaginary should or shouldn't universe. If something feels right, it should be there. If something feels wrong, it shouldn't be there. When I think back into my past experiences, I say, if something is a bad memory, I say that shouldn't have happened. If it is a good memory, I say it was right that that happened. It's different, ain't it, from somebody who determines what is true or not based on critical reasoning. Because the person who determines realities based on critical reasoning, they don't exist in the fictional should or shouldn't universe. What's important to the person who determines what is true or not based on critical reasoning? The only thing that matters to them is what is or is not what should be or should not be. What is or is not. As far as as far as determining what is true, what reality is, I should say. I've said in the past that the entire basis of emotional disorder is people determining realities based on what they feel. This is also the entire foundation and basis of the movement involved with saying that people are different than their biological reality. I don't want to name that movement because of censorship, of being flagged as being mean-spirited or anything like that. But you know what I'm talking about. What is the entire basis of the movement involved with saying that people are a different thing than their biological reality? It's the establishing of realities based on feelings. Now here's something, well, there's a lot of interest in natural effects of this. One is that you must believe it. You must believe it. Now this is where the conversation is going to start getting interesting. A person who is determining or let's say establishing truth or reality based on feelings, what behaviors do you see from them? This is very interesting. One very strong behavior you see people living this way do is that they insist on what? They insist that you believe it, that you accept it, and you must believe it. In fact, if you don't believe it, what behaviors do you see from them? Are they calm and composed, and do they accept this graciously, that you don't believe this thing that is determining their quote-unquote reality or what is true? No, they're not calm about it, are they? In fact, you see a violent, what you most often see is a really kind of an unhinged and violent reaction to the fact that you don't believe it. Now, I promised everybody over on our online community that in this episode I had an epiphany and that I would share that epiphany with you. Here's the epiphany. Why do they react so violently to the fact that you don't believe a thing? Consider this. What did we just say is being established by how they feel? What is being established for them, according to what they feel, is what is true. What is true or not? Are you starting to see why the reaction of people who determine realities based on their feelings react so violently and angrily to you not believe in a thing? It's because you're threatening their reality. Now, here's another related epiphany I had to this. Up until now, in Last Symptom, what I've said is that for unhealthy people, value is born from what other people think. That's true. That is true. But another epiphany I had is that there's more involved there. So let me ask you this question. People who are determining their realities based on feelings, what value would they give to somebody thinking something differently? It doesn't make sense, does it? Because according to them, according to their perspective, value exists, the thing that determines what is true or not, the thing that creates value are feelings. But I'm saying that they're looking out at other people and determining what other people think is having this great influence on them. And it's true, but why is what they think having a strong influence on them if they don't value critical thought? Deep within them, they don't view critical thinking as being relevant to what determines what matters, what has value, and what is true, or what reality is. And I realized what it was. Here's the second epiphany. Where do all of our feelings come from? Where are our feelings born from? They're born from our thoughts. When you think something, this naturally creates the feelings related to your thoughts. Let's say that when you have a perspective about something, this naturally is what creates the feelings around those perspectives. It's the thoughts. The thoughts give birth to feelings. Are you following me? Why is it that a person who determines their reality, what is true or not, that is to say, what has value or not, why are they so violently opposed to you thinking differently? It's because of the feelings that you thinking differently creates. Remember, that's where all the value is. That's what determines everything, our feelings. And what happens when you don't believe something that, well, let's say this. What happens when your beliefs are contrary to what they feel? Here's what happens. It threatens their reality. It threatens their very reality. Think about the times, so if you've been living with an emotional disorder and you get so violently angry and argumentative about other people having opinions differently than yours, you now understand why that's happening. It's not that you're viewing it as just an opinion. It's that their opinion, their different opinion, is creating different feelings that are different than your feelings. And let's say it even like this. Feelings that are different than your feelings that are establishing your reality. Their feelings aren't supporting your reality. Therefore, it's threatening your reality. Isn't that amazing? So it is thoughts. Value for the unhealthy person, it is what everybody else thinks is what creates value. But it's not just because they're thinking it. It's because of the feelings that they then have because of what they think. It's the feelings that are the focus of everything. The more people there are who believe it, this is the unhealthy person, and particularly people who determine realities based on what they feel. Their thinking is that the more people there are who believe it, the truer it is. Why? Because the truer it feels. Why does it feel more true? Because they feel it's true. Isn't that fascinating? All value, that is to say, all reality, comes from what other people think, but because of what they think makes them feel. What other people think, parentheses feel, is the origin and supply for all validity of all things. Because of this, it is the exclusive source of motive. You wondered how we were going to come back around to motive, didn't you? Remember earlier? Said you have to view value in something before you get up off the couch. Otherwise, you wouldn't get up off the couch. You have to see value in buying a car. Otherwise, you wouldn't buy the car. You have to see value in going to school for a certain profession. Otherwise, you wouldn't do it. All value, that is to say, reality, comes from what other people think, that is to say, feel, because what other people feel, or what other people think / feel, is the origin and supply for all validity of all things. Because of this, it is the exclusive source of motive. Think about this. When unhealthy people eat, why do they eat? What is their primary motive for eating? The unhealthy person. Is it so they have energy and won't die? Or is it to feel better? What is the motive? Is it reason and logic, or is it feelings? Well, you've heard of comfort eating, right? When people get depressed and then that's all they do. They eat to comfort themselves. What is causing that? Is it rational, or is it critical thought? No, it's their feelings. Their feelings. So what is their primary motive? Their feelings. What about losing weight? What is the motive? When we're talking about motives, we're talking about value. Where is the perceived value? Remember that as we go through this. So for healthy people, where is the perceived value creating motive for a healthy person when it comes to losing weight? It's in the thing itself. How does that contrast with the unhealthy person? The value is not in the losing weight itself. It's in what people think, that is to say, feel. So it's so fascinating. Again, let's take two people. They're each losing weight. One person's healthy and the other person is unhealthy. Where is the source of value for the healthy person? The value is in the losing weight itself. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks or feels. They want to do it for themselves. But where is the source of value for the unhealthy person who is trying to lose weight? In the past, I've simply said it's in what people will think of me. What will people think of me if I lose this weight? But it's more than that. Because it comes down to admiration. Will they admire me if I lose the weight? What is admiration? Admiration is a feeling. It's not a thought. It's a feeling. So what is really motivating? If we're really digging down, what is really motivating the unhealthy person? It's what they perceive the other people will feel about them. So it was never wrong for us to say that the value comes from what, for the unhealthy person, value comes from what other people think. It wasn't wrong for us to say that. It didn't go far enough. Because really what's motivating the person is what those thoughts, the feelings that those thoughts create in everybody around them. How do they feel about me? How will they feel about me? Feelings For the unhealthy person, feelings are everything. They're where all value originates. What other people feel, what I feel. My feelings determine realities. Their feelings determine realities. Am I handsome or not? Well, it depends on what other people think/feel, doesn't it, if I'm unhealthy? Rather than, I'm handsome whether you or anybody else likes it or not. Or this thing has value, whether anybody feels like it does or not, thinks it does or feels it does. Let's do some more of these. Where's the value for the healthy person in reading a book? There's where the value is. The value is in the reading of the book. What about for the unhealthy person? The value is in what people will think of me for having read a book. But why? Remember, the unhealthy person doesn't value critical thought. Critical thought is not what determines anything for the unhealthy person. So why then is it what they think of me is where the value of me reading a book is? Because of what my thoughts, the feelings that my thoughts produce. How will I feel about you for having read the book? Admiration. Admiration is a feeling. It's not a thought. So my admiration, how I feel about you reading the book, is where the value is. How about in a song? Me, as a healthy person, hearing a song on the radio and valuing it. Where is the value? The value is in the song itself. I view the song itself as having its own value. All on its own. It's creating its own value. What about for the unhealthy person? The value is in people approving of my choice of music. Will others like it, or will they think it's silly? If I think my peers will like it, it has value to me. If I think my peers will not like it, it's embarrassing and bad. What is that? Is that just what the unhealthy person is imagining other people think of the song? No. It's how do they feel about the song? It's their feelings. How about value of beliefs? The healthy person views the value of beliefs as being in the beliefs themselves. The beliefs either do have value or they don't have value on their own merit. What about unhealthy people? If a lot of people don't agree with my beliefs are wrong and without value, and I must believe something else instead. How do other people feel about the fact that I claim to believe a thing or not believe a thing? Well, if they taunt me, if they laugh at me for believing a thing, is it just what they think that's having an influence on me? No, it's how they feel about what I claim to believe that is now influencing me. If they ridicule me for what I believe, that's a result of them feeling what? That I'm stupid for believing what I believe. So it's not the thoughts, because remember, unhealthy people don't value that. They don't view that as being a source or an origin of value. They view feelings as being a source of origin or value or truth. And now notice that the unhealthy person, if they go down a road where they begin to think that they're believing a thing, but then they're ridiculed for it, they quickly surrender it, don't they? Because remember what we said, what is true or not? the people around them, how people around them feel about things, are actually determining for the unhealthy person what is true or not. And if they get ridiculed for believing something that they were starting to become convinced about, if they become ridiculed about that, what happens? The support that they perceive for that thing possibly being true goes away. Not only is it it can't be true, because they don't feel, the people around me don't feel that it is true. And so the unhealthy person has a real hard time having their own beliefs, if you think about that, their own convictions about things, because their convictions depend on how other people feel about their so-called convictions. And that's not how convictions work, are they? How do real convictions work? Critical thought, where a person becomes convinced on his or her own that a thing is real or not real. And when that happens, it doesn't matter how other people feel about it, because the value is in the conviction itself, not in how other people feel about the conviction. How about doing something nice? Where's the value in that? Well, for the healthy person, the value is in the doing of something nice itself. It has its own value. What about for the unhealthy person? The value in doing something nice comes from people noticing it. And I had written before, and acknowledging it. But it's even deeper than that, isn't it? We know that now. What's the deeper thing? The deeper thing is in how people will feel about you for having done a nice thing. How about where is the value in returning poor treatment to a spouse after that spouse has treated you poorly? Where's the value in that? Let me ask you, is the value in the spouse acknowledging that you behaved better than he or she did and then feeling bad about it? Well, that's the unhealthy person's perspective. Again, it's the feelings. I'm going to behave better than he or she behaves. What's motivating me? What is the origin of motive? The origin of motive is the pursuit of value. Where is the value? Where am I perceiving the value? How is she going to feel, or he going to feel, if I react better than he or she is treating me? Motive. What is motivating me to do that? It's the pursuit of value. What is the value? How they're going to feel. What about for the healthy person? For the healthy person, the value is in the self-control itself and the satisfaction with one's own behaviors and choices. How about owning a new car? Where's the value? Why do you buy the new car? You buy the new car because of pursuit of value, but where's the value? For the healthy person, the value is in the owning a new car itself. In itself, the ownership of a new car, the peace of mind it provides, the reliability, the benefits that it brings to life. It's in the car, it's in the ownership of the car itself. What about for the unhealthy person? Isn't it in attracting the attention and envy of others? Yeah. So where's the value? The value is in the feelings. How are other people going to feel about me? Because when we're talking about envy is not a thought, is it? Envy is a feeling. And so this is this great big boom, epiphany type situation here, where I realized all the way up till now, I've talked about how the value for the unhealthy person is in what they think other people think. And that's true. But the only reason it's in what other people think is because how what they think makes them feel. This is the big connection that just was so brilliant to me when I stumbled upon it. Because unhealthy people put an inappropriate, unhealthy value on feelings, but they do not value critical thought. So then the question was, well, when their value system is entirely built on what other people think, how does that work? Because they don't value thought. They value feelings. Feelings are the most important thing for the unhealthy person. And now it all makes sense, doesn't it? The reason why they value what other people think is not because of the thoughts themselves, it's because of how that makes a person feel. Like, for example, if I think that summer is stupid and an unhealthy person loves summer, like they have all these gooey, good feelings when it comes to summer. And I get into a conversation with that unhealthy person, and that person gets upset that I have a different opinion about summer than they do. But the unhealthy person does not value thought, does not value opinion. Opinion and thoughts don't matter. What mattered to the unhealthy person is feelings. Because why? Because feelings are what determine reality. And if I feel differently about summer than the unhealthy person does, what is it doing? What is it doing to the unhealthy person from the unhealthy person's point of view? It's threatening not just their opinion, it's threatening the very reality that they exist in. Their reality is completely dependent on feelings, because that's what they're determining realities with. So fascinating. So it explains why there's such a violent anger or knee-jerk reaction of people having different opinions. It's not just that other people have a different opinion. Rather, it's because of the feelings that the opinion naturally creates, which threatens the unhealthy person's reality. Because for the unhealthy person, whatever feels real is real. If people don't believe it, which means they don't feel it, then that reality is threatened. Of course, it all started with feelings. As children, their emotional teachers were viewing the value of their feelings. So let me see if I can say this more clearly. Your parents were viewing the value of your feelings as being conditional. Conditional to whether or not they made sense to your parents. So in other words, you were sad, and your parents, the caretakers in your life, the ones that you were looking to for understanding life, you're looking to them. How do they feel about me feeling sad? Can you picture that? You're a little boy or a little girl, and you're feeling sad. And as you're standing there feeling sad, you look to the people who are providing you guidance in life, who are determining everything for you in life. What's real? And this goes back to the beginning of the discussion. What is true or not? I'm feeling sad. Let me look to my parents. How do they feel about what I'm feeling? If your sad feelings made sense to your parents demonstrated interest or concern. If the feelings did not make sense to your parents, what did they demonstrate? They demonstrated indifference, frustration, offense, impatience, anger, or ridicule. What are all these things? Are they thoughts? They're feelings. my parents feel negatively about what I'm feeling. Therefore, as a child, where did you learn was the value of feelings? As that young child, in that situation, given those realities, what did you learn was the origin of the value of feelings? In the feelings themselves? No, because if they were in the feelings themselves, then it wouldn't matter how your parents felt about your feelings, or what they thought about your feelings, or if the feelings made sense to your parents. Your parents would say, what she or he is feeling right now, that matters. It matters no matter what. Whether it makes sense to me or not, it matters. But they didn't do that. So, because they didn't do that, you didn't grow up viewing feelings as having value just in and of themselves. Instead, what you learned was that it's what people think of what you feel, and the only reason they're thinking about what you feel mattered is because how they think makes them feel. I hope that's not too confusing, but let's break it down like this. The reasoning went like this. Because my parents feel indifference, frustration, offense, impatience, anger, ridicule over what I'm feeling, this establishes what is true. That what I'm feeling is valueless, frustrating, offensive, maddening, ridiculous. What determined the reality? Their thoughts? No, feelings. Feelings determined the reality. Isn't that incredible? For unhealthy people, feelings are ground zero for everything. They determine reality. Because they determine realities, or they determine what is true or not, they are the source of the pursuit of all value. In other words, they are the origin of all motive for the unhealthy person. Feelings are the origin of all motive for the unhealthy person. What is true or not? That is to say, what is real or not? When you're a child, how do you determine what is true or real or not? Our emotional teachers are the ones that help us understand what? They're the ones that help us understand, to establish what is true or not. What is real or not. We don't just come into the world knowing it. So we look to them. Here's something interesting about determining what is true or not. What is true, that is to say, what is real, has what? Let's word it this way. What is not true, that is to say, what is not real, does not have what? Well, I'll answer the question for you because it's hard for me to set that question up so that it's easily discernible what I'm trying to get at. Here's the answer. What is true has value. What is not true does not have value. What is real has value. What is not real does not have value. Not to real life. Now, are we beginning to understand why a person who determines the realities based on what they feel then comes across somebody who does not feel the same way about their reality? In other words, does not feel that belief, or that, let's just say belief, does not feel that belief is true. Why is there such a violent pushback against that? Because of what we just said. What's true has value, and what's not true does not have value. And we all know this. And so when you don't feel about things the same way I feel about things, and you're threatening what? My reality? What is true? What are you doing? You're taking away value. You're taking away, you're saying that I don't have value. This thing does not have value. And for me, basing realities on my feelings, that's the whole origin of value. If it doesn't have value, it's not true. If it does have value, it is true. If it doesn't have value, it can't be real then. If it does have value, then it can be real. But if it doesn't have value, it can't be real. And I need it to be real because my feelings say so. How about you? How do people feel about you? Remember what we just said? Feelings determine reality. What is true or what is real has value. What is not true, what is not real does not have value. So, how do people feel about the nature of value in connection to your feelings also applies to your very existence and your very individuality. In other words, if the nature of the value of my feelings is that they don't have their own value, then this is the truth about the nature of the value of people too. People don't have their own value. Because this is true for feelings and for people, a couple of the most relevant things in all of existence, life, that is to say, what's the most relevant thing in all of our world? People. So we're saying that the most relevant thing in all of existence, in our world, in life, is people, but they don't have their own value? Because their feelings don't have their own value? Well, if it's true for people, the most relevant thing in life on the earth, then it's true for all things. And so this is how value works, period, for the unhealthy person. Nothing has its own value. There is no such thing, and there is no alternative way of viewing the thing. All value comes from what people feel. Feelings. It all exists in feelings, and then it is projected upon other things. But nothing itself possesses its own value. You remember the examples we were doing up here? So, for example, college education. Where is the value in a college education? Well, for the healthy person, the value is in the thing itself. Yes, the value of my college education is the acquired information itself. But unhealthy people don't view anything as possessing its own value. So where is the value for the unhealthy person? The value of my college education is that it raises me above others in the minds of people. How will they feel about me if I have a college education compared to how will they feel about me if I don't have a college education? There's the value. Is it in the college education? No, it's in how people will feel about me if I have the college education. Do you see? Then I want you to remember that term, projected upon. So for the unhealthy person, nothing just possesses its own value. It originates elsewhere in the form of how other people feel, and then it is projected upon things. So a diamond doesn't have value just because of what it is. It has value because of it having value projected upon it from the people around it, how they feel about diamonds. The value is being projected upon it. And it's a major difference between healthy people and unhealthy people. Healthy people aren't viewing the value of things as being projected upon it from elsewhere. Healthy people are viewing things as the value being created from the existence of the thing itself. Only unhealthy people are viewing things as having value projected upon it, including themselves. So the unhealthy person does not view himself or herself as possessing his or her own value. His or her own feelings don't possess their own value. The only value at all that it can experience is value projected upon it. That is to say, himself or herself. If I'm going to feel any value at all, it's got to be projected upon me. I don't provide it myself. Think about relaxing on the beach. If you're an unhealthy person, for the unhealthy person, relaxing on the beach will only really have value if other people will know I was on the beach and will envy me. I can't just sit there and value being on the beach just in and of itself. It can only really have value if people know I'm here on the beach and will envy me. Their feelings project value upon me being on the beach. Whereas for the healthy person, the value of relaxing on the beach is in the relaxing on the beach itself. Who cares if anybody ever sees a picture of this or knows I'm here or has any idea whatsoever that I even went to the beach? You know, when healthy parents raise their children, valuing the feelings themselves that the children are experiencing, doesn't have to make sense to me. For your feelings to have value, it doesn't have to make sense to me. The value is in the feelings themselves. That child, their lives are changed. I mean, their lives are not changed. Their lives take a course, a healthy course of health. That child grows up to view everything around him or her as either possessing or not possessing its own value. This cup either possesses or does not possess its own value. What people think, that is, how other people feel about this cup, does not matter to me. It doesn't fit anywhere into the equation about whether I can view this cup as having value or not. I don't care how you feel about this cup. It has no influence on me whatsoever about whether I can look upon this cup and view it with value. Think about a person, me, or somebody else, sharing information. And now think about reactions like this. Yeah, but he doesn't even have a degree in psychology. How about, yeah, but he picks his nose. How about, yeah, but she doesn't even own her own house. What are these examples of? These are examples of attacking the likability of the messenger of the information rather than the information itself. Is that being done by a healthy person or an unhealthy person? It's being done by an unhealthy person. Why? How can we know that? We can know that because of where the value is. Where is the value? The value is in how people feel toward that person, the person sharing the information, not the information itself. You remember, information either does or does not have merit on its own. There's an example in real life of a thing either possessing its own value or not possessing its own value, but either way, that not being affected one way or another by how people feel about the information. So, feelings become the entire focus for unhealthy people, and now we understand why. It's because for unhealthy people, feelings are the only thing that matter. And the reason why they matter is because that's the origin of value. That's what determines what is true or not, our feelings. And we also understand now why unhealthy people are so sensitive to other people having different opinions. It's not because the unhealthy person is placing any value on that person's thoughts or opinions. Where's the value? It's in how those thoughts and opinions will naturally make that person feel differently about a thing than the unhealthy person. And why is that a problem? Because it threatens for them what is true or not. Because why? Because feelings are what they use to establish what is true or not. In real life, is that true? I mean, in real life, is that the way truth works? It's not the way truth works. It's not the way reality works. Getting healthy is escaping that form of value system, that form of thinking, rejecting that, and beginning to determine realities and truth based on critical thought, pushing feelings aside and saying it doesn't matter what I feel. What I feel has no bearing on whether this thing is true or not. I need to analyze it with my feelings pushed aside and be as emotionally and intellectually honest with myself as I can be to arrive at the truth. Then I can feel however I want to feel about the truth. But it doesn't work the other way around, where what I feel determines truth. The truth just is what it is. And I'm allowed to feel however I feel about it. What I can't do and be healthy is use my feelings to determine that truth, quote unquote. So that's the show. I was going to say a few other things, but we're going to close her down there. Folks, this book, The Apple Tower, which is a book of the entire collection of my cartoons titled The Apple Tower, along with some goodies in the back, which include my rough sketches and my character studies and a few other goodies, is now available for sale on Amazon. Just look up The Apple Tower comic, and it'll pop right up on Amazon. I've got all the kinks worked out of it. It's a wonderful book. It's not just for kids. It's for adults. If you like, it's witty. It's witty, and there's a lot of intelligent things in there in the form of a comic strip. But, if you think about like Calvin and Hobbes, if you think about Bloom County, think about Far Side, it's along that line. It's like the old classic comic strips, and it's available for sale over at Amazon. The Apple Tower. I'm very proud of it. It supports The Last Symptom. Of course, it doesn't have anything really directly to do with The Last Symptom, but buying it does support me, and that supports the work I do here. And like I said, stick with me. Be on the lookout for the Last Symptom book release here in the coming weeks. I appreciate you guys coming along for the ride, and y'all do something nice for yourselves this weekend. My headache never did completely go away. Y'all take care. I'll see you next time.
Tell you what, you guys have, my fingers are bleeding, but it's been totally worth it. What a great place. What a great festival. You got great music to look forward to the rest of the weekend. It's been our honor, no kidding, to get you all stirred up.
Ain't that the truth?
Just a joy. We'll do this one, and dadgummit, we're going home. Y'all can sit here all night. We don't care. All right, one last request.
Fanny Fork River!
Now look, if I don't want to get yelled at, I stayed home. No, I wouldn't either. I'm afraid of that woman. My wife would charge hell with a squirt gun. She would. By the way, I don't know if we set up any merch or not tonight, but Mark and I have a new business venture that we're going to talk about tonight. They've legalized that marijuana stuff down there where we live in the Great Smokies. So Mark and we're going to open up one of them dispensaries there in the Smoky Mountains, but I don't know what happened, but all of our inventory burned up in a series of small fires. I'm not sure what happened.
Lo fumaron todo.
You got there before I did, didn't you? Good night. We're Balsam Range. God bless you.
Love ya!
Blue Mountain. Well, I took my chances, left you for Texas, hell-bent with something to prove. I thought
you'd be there. We'd all wandered back where I left your sweet love and the truth. It's a blue mountain, it's rolling between me and you. It's a long highway, a long highway that runs through the heart of Epiphany. Now I've been to Phoenix, the West Coast I've seen, and still haven't found where I am. 'Cause those old Carolinas that I left behind, the heart and the soul of this man. It's a blue mountain, a blue mountain. It's rolling between me and you. It's a long highway, a long highway that runs through the heart of Epiphany. Now no glass of whiskey can tell me you miss me. I've been gone too long for that. So I'll drink to old times, black roads and white lines, to the day I find my way back. It's a blue mountain, a blue mountain. It's rolling between me and you. It's a long highway, a long highway that runs through
right, y'all. God bless.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Wow. Yeah.
Thank you, Sam Jam. God bless y'all.
Thank you, guys.
See you next time.